The atmosphere shifted the moment Eamonn Holmes spoke. It wasn't sudden or dramatic, it was subtle, like a quiet wave moving through the room. His voice carried its usual confidence, but something softer sat beneath it, something fragile, something real. Those who know him well could sense it instantly. He smiled first, he always does, a familiar expression that says he's in control, that everything is fine. But sometimes a smile tells a different story when you look closely enough. Ruth Langsford stood nearby, calm and composed, yet attentive in a way only someone who truly knows you can be. She wasn't watching the room, she was watching him. Eamonn tried to continue as usual, a light remark here, a hint of humor there, even a playful comment meant to lift the mood. And for a brief moment it worked. Laughter followed, the air loosened. But emotions have a way of finding their way to the surface, no matter how carefully you try to keep them tucked away. His voice slowed, just slightly. The words came out more carefully now, as if each one carried weight. He spoke about moments shared over time, long days, unexpected challenges, quiet victories that never make headlines but matter deeply. He didn't over-explain, he didn't need to. And then it happened. A pause. Not the awkward kind, the meaningful kind that makes everyone lean in, even without realizing it. His eyes shimmered, betraying the strength he's known for. He laughed softly at himself, as if surprised by his own reaction. "Well, this isn't how I planned to say that," he joked. That single line broke the tension, and yet made everything feel even more genuine. The humor wasn't there to hide the emotion, it was there to share it. Ruth's expression changed. She didn't panic, she didn't interrupt, she simply reached out, not dramatically, but instinctively, a small gesture that spoke volumes. It was support, familiarity, and love, all in one quiet movement. Eamonn took a breath, another smile, another attempt to move forward, but this time the emotion stayed. He spoke about partnership, not just the public kind people see, but the private one built on patience, shared jokes, and mutual respect. He mentioned how laughter often comes at the exact moment you think you can't handle one more thing, how humor becomes a lifeline. The romance wasn't loud or flashy, it was real. It was in the way he acknowledged strength, not just his own, but Ruth's. In the way he hinted that no journey is walked alone, even when it feels that way from the outside. Ruth listened, eyes focused, heart clearly involved. She had that look, the one that says she understands even what isn't spoken. Eamonn's voice wavered again, and this time he didn't fight it. He let the feeling exist. Viewers noticed the honesty immediately. This wasn't performance, this wasn't scripted. This was a man allowing himself to be human in a moment that mattered. And somehow, that vulnerability made the room feel warmer. Then came the humor again. Eamonn chuckled, shaking his head. "I promised myself I wouldn't do this," he said lightly, as if emotion were an old friend who showed up uninvited. The audience smiled, some laughing softly, others nodding in understanding. Because everyone has been there. That place where emotion sneaks up on you, not because something is wrong, but because something is meaningful. Ruth finally spoke, gently teasing him, reminding him that he's allowed to feel what he feels. Her tone was affectionate, playful even, but grounded in deep care. It was the kind of exchange that only comes from years of knowing each other's rhythms. The room relaxed again. Eamonn regained his composure, though the emotion never fully left, and that was okay. It didn't need to. He spoke about gratitude, about how experiences shape us, how people shape us, and how moments we least expect sometimes leave the strongest impressions. There was excitement underneath it all, too, because this wasn't about loss, it was about appreciation, about recognizing how far things have come and how much there still is ahead. Ruth smiled then,
a knowing smile, one that carried reassurance without needing words. She wasn't stunned by his emotion, she was moved by it. Fans watching felt it instantly. Social media buzzed, not with shock, but with admiration. People spoke about how refreshing it was to see honesty shared so openly, how rare it is to witness affection that doesn't need grand gestures to be powerful. Some laughed at the playful banter that followed. Others felt a quiet lump in their throat. Many felt both at the same time, because that's life, isn't it? Joy and emotion don't take turns, they show up together. Eamonn ended his thought not with a dramatic conclusion, but with sincerity. He acknowledged the moment, thanked those around him, and even made a final self-aware joke about needing a strong cup of tea afterwards. Classic Eamonn. Ruth laughed, shaking her head, affection written all over her face. The tension dissolved into warmth, leaving behind something better than spectacle, connection. The moment passed, but the feeling stayed. It reminded people that strength isn't about holding everything in. Sometimes strength is about letting others see what matters to you. It reminded people that romance isn't always roses and poetry. Sometimes it's standing beside someone, steady and calm, when emotion decides to speak louder than planned. And perhaps most importantly, it reminded people that authenticity still resonates. No matter how busy life gets, no matter how polished the world becomes, moments like this cut through the noise. They feel real. As viewers reflected, one thought kept appearing again and again. This wasn't painful because it was sad. It was powerful because it was honest. Eamonn didn't lose control. He showed trust. Ruth wasn't devastated. She was present. Together, they turned a vulnerable moment into something quietly beautiful, filled with humor, affection, and mutual respect. And that's why people couldn't stop talking about it. Because sometimes the most unforgettable moments aren't planned, they simply happen when people allow themselves to be real. If this story made you smile, reflect, or feel a little closer to the people that matter in your own life, then it did exactly what moments like this are meant to do. They remind us to feel, to laugh, to appreciate the connections we have while they're right in front of us, and sometimes to let a tear fall.
After
without
everything settled,
apology.
something quietly beautiful remained in the air. It wasn't the kind of moment people forget by the next day. It lingered. It followed viewers into conversations, into late-night thoughts, into those pauses where you suddenly realize why certain people matter so much. Eamonn leaned back slightly, exhaling as if he'd just run an emotional marathon without training for it. He smiled again, this time softer, calmer, almost amused by himself. "Well," he said with a gentle laugh, "that was unexpected." Ruth raised an eyebrow, her smile playful, the kind that says, "I know you better than you think you know yourself." The audience laughed, not because it was scripted, but because it felt like watching two people who've shared a lifetime of inside jokes. That's where the magic lived, not in the emotion alone, but in the ease that followed it. Eamonn joked about how feelings have terrible timing, how they wait patiently for the worst possible moment to appear. Ruth teased him right back, reminding him that at least it proved he still cared deeply, and that wasn't exactly a flaw. Their exchange felt effortless, comfortable, like a well-worn conversation that didn't need rehearsing. And yet beneath the humor there was something undeniably romantic. Not romance built on grand speeches or dramatic gestures, but the quiet kind. The kind that shows up in understanding glances and shared laughter after vulnerability. The kind that says, "I've got you," without needing to say it out loud. Eamonn spoke again, this time more relaxed. He reflected on how life has a way of surprising you even after you think you've seen it all. How moments that start as ordinary sometimes turn into the ones people remember the most. Ruth nodded, listening with that same steady attention. She didn't try to take over the moment. She let him have it, knowing when to step in and when to simply stand beside him. That balance didn't go unnoticed. Viewers commented on how rare it is to see that kind of partnership when neither person competes for the spotlight, where strength and softness exist side by side without tension. And then came the laughter again. Eamonn made a remark about needing to write himself a reminder: do not get emotional on air. Ruth laughed openly this time, shaking her head as if she'd heard that promise before. The room felt lighter, warmer, like everyone had collectively exhaled. But the emotion didn't disappear. It simply settled. Eamonn acknowledged it openly now, no longer trying to brush it aside. He admitted that moments like these don't come from sadness, but from appreciation, from realizing how much you value the people and experiences that shape your life. That honesty struck a chord. People watching at home recognized themselves in it. The times they'd felt overwhelmed not by loss, but by gratitude. The moments when love sneaks up on you, not loudly, but gently, until it fills your chest. Finally, Ruth reached over again, this time squeezing his hand with a smile that was both reassuring and affectionate. No words, none were needed. That simple gesture said everything. The conversation drifted naturally after that. Lighter topics, playful comments, small jokes that kept the mood buoyant. But the connection remained visible, like an undercurrent running beneath every exchange. And that's what made it so compelling. It wasn't about a single emotional moment. It was about the relationship surrounding it. Fans later described it as comforting, refreshing, real. Some said it reminded them of their own relationships, the laughter after tears, the jokes that follow serious conversations, the way love doesn't always look dramatic, but always feel steady. Others admitted they didn't expect to feel so invested. They tuned in casually and stayed because something genuine was unfolding. Eamonn closed the moment with gratitude, not overly sentimental, just sincere. He thanked those around him, smiled at Ruth once more, and added one final joke about emotions clearly having their own agenda. Ruth laughed again, that familiar sound that signaled everything was okay. And it was. Nothing was broken, nothing was lost. What people witnessed wasn't devastation, it was depth. It was a reminder that vulnerability doesn't weaken you, it connects you. That humor doesn't erase emotion, it helps you carry it. As the moment faded, viewers were left with something rare in today's fast-paced world, a feeling of closeness. Not just to Eamonn and Ruth, but to the idea that honesty still has a place, that relationships built on respect and warmth still resonate, that being human, openly and imperfectly, is still powerful. And long after the screens changed, that feeling stayed. Because the most memorable moments aren't always loud. Sometimes they're quiet, sincere, and shared between two people who understand each other completely. And those moments don't fade. They stay with you, like a smile you didn't expect, or a laugh that comes right after a tear.